Something of a crisis occurred in the art world last year when Walter Lander, the wealthy American collector, announced to the world at large that he had procured the Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato. Trovato, until a few years ago unknown in art circles, has recently emerged as one of the great overlooked painters. Of the Venetian school and thought to be a disciple of Titian himself, his canvases, of which there are very few, fetch high prices. Mr. Lander paid £20,000 for the Bacchus. However, the purchase was followed by an immediate disclaimer. Antonio Sforza, secretary to the aged Duke de Severin, announced that the Bacchus had long hung in his master's private collection in Provence. Therefore, Walter Lander had been deceived. Mr. Lander then revealed that he had not bought the painting through an accredited dealer, but privately from an obscure British painter of his acquaintance, Alice Starkie. Miss Starkie, a landscape artist and occasional portrait painter, maintained publicly that she had sold the canvas in good faith, believing it indeed to be a Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato. Today, however, in the Crown Court, Alice Starkie answers charges of obtaining property by deception contrary to Section 15 of the Theft Act, 1968. Mr. Charles Lotterby prosecutes, Miss Helen Tate appears for the defence, and Judge Bragg presides.
Now, Mr. Lander, do you recognize this painting?
Yes, that is the one which Alice Starkie represented to me as being the Bacchus by Benedetto Trovato.
I therefore introduce this painting in evidence. It should be marked Exhibit 1. Now, Mr. Lander, for this painting you paid Miss Starkie the sum of £20,000.
I did.
How did you pay the money over? By check, bank draft?
By check to cash.
Isn't that a little unusual?
Well, when you're buying paintings, you have to go along with what the vendor wants. It isn't like buying real estate or something across the counter in a store. It's a question of faith more than anything else, and the parties involved and the quality of their goods.
Are you saying that Miss Starkie asked you to make the check payable to cash?
Yes.
You find in transactions of this sort, people don't always want there to be a record of the sale?
Your Honour?
Yes. Mr. Lotterby, that is both a leading question and a matter of comment.
Obliged, Your Honour. Now, Mr. Lander, can you tell us in more detail how it was you came to purchase this painting from Miss Starkie?
Well, I was in England to buy some paintings, if I could, and one day in March, I heard about an old mansion in Rustingford, the contents of which were up for auction. I went down to see what the gallery contained, and there, by chance, I met Miss Starkie, who was also looking around. There was nothing of real interest in the sale, but once Miss Starkie learned who I was and what I was after, she told me that if I was prepared to keep quiet about it, she could perhaps put me in the way of a genuine art treasure.
If you were prepared to keep quiet about it?
Yes.
Those were her exact words?
They were.
Thank you. Continue.
Well, I didn't know what to make of it at first. There are a lot of tricksters around the edges of the art business. You have to be careful. But I made sure that Miss Starkie really was a painter herself, as she said she was, and I went around to her studio the next day at around 5. And there she produced that painting there. It was really quite remarkable. It carried the signature Benedetto Trovato, and it certainly looked of its period. It seemed a genuine find, and certainly a bargain.
£20,000, you regard a Trovato painting as a bargain?
Oh, yes. 22 or 23,000 wouldn't be an unreasonable figure in investment terms today. You see, Trovato's value keeps escalating. His John the Baptist went for 31.5 in New York last year.
Indeed. Incidentally, did Miss Starkie tell you how she came to be in possession of this painting?
I was very careful to inquire, sir. She told me that she'd recently returned from a painting tour of Italy, and while she was in Venice, she bought up a job lot of old canvases to reuse, and among them she found the Bacchus.
And she then offered you for £20,000 this painting we see here today as the Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato.
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Lander.
Mr. Lander, you have just said that Miss Starkie offered you the painting we see here today as the Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato.
Yes, I have.
As the Bacchus or as a Bacchus, Mr. Lander?
I beg your pardon?
Well, there is a distinction, you see. I want you to cast your mind back to that day in Miss Starkie's studio. Now, when she offered you the painting, did she say, "Here is the Bacchus by Benedetto Trovato," or merely, "I'm offering you a Bacchus by Benedetto Trovato"?
As I recall, the latter.
A Bacchus, implying then that there might well be others.
I'm sorry.
You see, I want to make it quite clear that Miss Starkie's case is that she believed this to be a Bacchus by Trovato, and did not suggest to you that it was the only Bacchus. Now, you stated that at Rustingford my client told you that she could put you in the way of a genuine work of art, provided you were prepared to keep quiet about it.
Yes.
Seems you didn't keep quiet, Mr. Lander.
Well, no. Why on earth should I? It was a crazy condition. I didn't take it seriously for a minute. If a man comes across a previously undiscovered work of art, he wants to let everybody know about it. That's what collecting means.
Well, did Miss Starkie give you any idea why she wanted you to keep quiet, perhaps?
No.
Did she not explain why she wanted the £20,000 in cash rather than by cross-check?
No, not at all.
Oh, come, Mr. Lander. Didn't Miss Starkie make some remarks about British tax?
Oh, tax. I didn't take that seriously.
Let me assure you, Mr. Lander, that in the British Isles, everything to do with tax is taken seriously.
She did say something about capital gains tax.
So you received the impression, did you not, that Miss Starkie wanted a private sale and a check to cash in order to avoid a tax bill?
She said that she needed all the money in order to continue painting. She even told me that she'd been waiting for somebody like me to come along in order to sell the Trovato in the way she needed, without publicity or fuss. She was certainly waiting for somebody like me to come along.
Thank you, Mr. Lander.
You may stand down, Mr. Lander.
Your Honor, my next witness is Quentin Brooke, the eminent art critic. But first of all, there is a procedural matter. I shall wish to introduce a second exhibit at this point, but a question of identification will arise, which can only be resolved by a witness I mean to call a little later, Signor Antonio Sforza.
1 minute, Mr. Lotterby. Signor Sforza, yes, secretary to the Duke of Severin. Is the gentleman present?
He is, Your Honor.
Then I take it you're asking if you may call him to make the identification now and hear the rest of his evidence later.
That is so, Your Honor.
Couldn't take all his evidence at this point?
Well, there is other evidence that really ought to be heard first.
Has the defence any objection to this?
None whatever, Your Honor.
Then you may proceed, Mr. Lotterby.
Call Antonio Sforza.
Antonio Sforza, please.
What religion are you, please?
Roman Catholic.
Take the Bible in your right hand and read the words written on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Antonio Sforza?
Yes, I am.
And you are employed as secretary to His Excellency the Duc de Severin, having special responsibility for his estates and possessions in Chateau Grandy, Provence.
That is so.
And that is where you live?
Yes.
Now, Signor Sforza, counsel for the prosecution has called you at this point simply to make an identification for him. He will clear that up, and then I shall ask you to wait outside again and hear the rest of your evidence later.
Yes, madam.
I introduce this painting in evidence as Exhibit 2. Now, Signor Sforza, can you identify this painting for us, please?
I think perhaps I can. May I examine it a little more closely?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Yes. That is a painting known as the Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato, which for the last 7 years has hung in the private collection of His Excellency le Duc de Severin.
Did you yourself supervise the transportation of this painting to England some 3 days ago?
Yes, I did.
Thank you, sir.
I have nothing to ask the witness for the time being, Your Honour.
Then I will ask you to leave the courtroom again for the time being, Signor Sforza. Remember that you are now under oath. You must not discuss the case with anybody.
I now call Quentin Brooke.
Quentin Brooke, please.
I'll affirm, if you don't mind. I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Your name is Quentin Brooke, and you live at the Beeches, Camelford Lane, Maidenhead.
That is correct.
I'm sure my friend won't mind if I lead on this. You are a writer on art, broadcaster, critic of the Review Fraternity, and author of a book entitled Titian and the Venetians.
I am.
Mr. Brooke, you are regarded as something of an authority on Venetian painting of the 16th century.
Well, I published a monograph on the subject, as you pointed out. I suppose my views are reasonably well respected.
Are you acquainted with the works of Benedetto Trovato?
I've taken a particular interest in him since 1965, when he was established as a personality of the Venetian school. Trovato was a disciple of Titian, possibly his greatest.
Can you tell us if either of these works, marked 1 and 2, is in your view by Benedetto Trovato?
Yes, this is the Trovato, exhibit number 2. It is the Bacchus from the private collection of the Duke de Severin.
And the other painting, Mr. Brooke?
Oh, well, I'm not sure. By an unskillful hand, I'd say it was a cheap and common imitation.
Now, Mr. Brooke, let us be quite clear. Exhibit 2 is, in your opinion, the genuine Trovato.
Oh, no doubt about it.
And Exhibit 1 is a copy.
Exactly, a forgery.
Forgery is a pretty strong word, Mr. Brooke.
No, chosen advisedly. What I mean is that if Exhibit 2 here is an original, and it unquestionably is, then Exhibit 1 is a deliberate copy of it.
Will you tell the court how it is you can be so certain of that?
Oh, every line, every detail of the pose and landscape is the same. And not only the same, but slavishly so, if you can understand what I mean. The whole thing is rather like one of those exercises students do, going into art galleries and making dreadful copies of old masters to try and learn something about technique.
And what precisely makes you certain that Exhibit 2 is a genuine Trovato?
Oh, that's a horse of a different colour. Not only is the brushwork and the definition immensely superior, but there is the internal evidence as well. Now, Trovato was a man of the people, you see. This is what makes him unique in the Venetian school. His master Titian was more remote, more aristocratic in approach. But for Trovato, even in the patrician milieu of 16th century Venice, it was the face of the hard-working peasant, the thew and sinew of rugged toil that attracted. Just look at this Bacchus. Bacchus was the Greco-Roman god of wine, a being of legend, of fantasy. But here you see Trovato was not afraid to give him the face and the nose of a tipsy farm labourer. The supple muscles, the capable hands. It's an amusing piece of work in its way, meant to make one laugh. A none too sly dig at the effete Venetians, who certainly worship Bacchus in the way they down their wine, but had deliberately thrust away from them his essential connection with the fields, the cultivation of the vine, hard, honest toil.
I see. Well, to get back to the copy, Mr. Brooke, Exhibit 1, which you so confidently call a forgery, can you tell us when this might have been made?
No, I'm afraid I can't. That's not in my field. But I suspect in quite recent time.
Why quite recent time?
Well, it's only just turned up, hasn't it? I mean, people have been looking for undiscovered Trovatos for a number of years now. We've probably found all we're going to find.
Would it have required an artist of great skill to make this forgery?
Not of great skill, no. Somebody clever.
Clever?
Yes, quick and reasonably assured, but with a gift for artistic mimicry.
Yet you said the whole thing looks like no more than a student's exercise.
Well, some of those are agreeably clever. They just miss the vital spark, you see. It's immediately obvious to the eye of experience.
Well, would you now return to the witness box, Mr. Brooke?
Oh.
Now, on a different matter, Mr. Brooke, are you acquainted with the work of Alice Starkie?
I've seen some of her paintings from time to time, yes.
Written about them, perhaps, in your capacity as art critic of the Review of Fraternity?
That's true.
Favourably?
Well,
would you regard Miss Starkie as a clever painter?
Your Honour, my friend is leading the witness.
No, Miss Tate, I don't think that question suggests an answer one way or the other. Counsel for the prosecution is merely eliciting an opinion from expert witness, which is hardly out of order.
You may answer the question, Mr. Brooke.
Well, yes, I would regard Alice Starkie as a clever painter, basically. She has a certain competence. I found her work lacking in her meaning, significance, but on the surface unquestionably clever.
And you've told us that by clever you mean with a gift for artistic mimicry.
Yes.
Copying, in other words.
In a sense, yes.
One final question, Mr. Brooke. Referring to Exhibit 2 again, the genuine Bacchus, did Benedetto Trovato paint many pictures on this subject?
No, as far as I'm aware, only one.
Only one?
Yes.
You're quite sure of that?
Well, Bacchus was a fairly common theme among the Venetians at this time. But as I've said, most of us are under the impression we found all the Trovatos we're likely to find, and there's only one Bacchus among them.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Brooke.
Mr. Brooke, you haven't finished yet. Will you please come back?
Mr. Brooke, you base your opinion that Exhibit 2 is the genuine Trovato upon the superiority of the brushwork, and secondly, upon the internal evidence.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, I think those are the 2 points.
And the internal evidence is that Trovato is a man of the people, and this comes out in his work.
Exactly.
Is there any real proof that Benedetto Trovato was a man of the people, Mr. Brooke?
I beg your pardon?
Well, from the way you've spoken, one would assume that he was a working farmer or some such who turned to painting. But is there any historical support for your view?
Well, not historical in the sense of documented evidence. We know very little about Trovato.
Little more than his name, in fact.
For certain, however...
Now, the review for which you act as art critic, Mr. Brooke, Fraternity. Couldn't this be described as a left-wing publication?
Yes, is it relevant?
And you yourself have on more than one occasion suggested that your political stance is Marxist.
I don't believe my politics come into this.
But it's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, since so little is known of Trovato, couldn't your idea that he is a man of the people be just a little bit of Marxist wishful thinking?
What absolute nonsense.
Critics generally would agree with your interpretation.
Oh, I didn't say that. I have made a particular study of Venetian painting of the 16th century and have come to certain conclusions about Benedetto Trovato. The fact that other critics, with less knowledge, may have come to different ones is neither here nor there.
Would you regard the critic Gustave de Montauk as having less knowledge on the period in question than yourself?
De Montauk, an old fool.
Mr. Brooke, I do not think that answer is at all useful. It does you no credit. Are you saying that you do not respect his views as an art critic?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yet Gustave de Montauk has written an authoritative book on Venetian painting in the 16th century, hasn't he? A book well regarded in the art world.
De Montauk has written such a book, but in my view, he has his feet firmly planted in the clouds. He yearns for the dear dead world of privilege and rank.
The fact is, isn't it, Mr. Brooke, that you have concluded that Trovato is a man of the people by studying his work, and for no other reason?
Yes.
And other critics, including Gustave de Montauk, assert confidently that Trovato was a patrician or aristocratic rank.
Well, there is a surprising dearth of information.
So these are two diametrically opposed views with regard to the internal evidence.
Yes, but...
So much for the internal evidence, Mr. Brooke. Now you tell us that Trovato painted only one Bacchus.
As far as is known, Trovato only painted one Bacchus.
He might have painted others then.
There's no evidence to suggest it.
How many Trovato canvases are there, please?
5.
Only 5. For the lifetime's work of an artist.
They are all young themes, if you can understand what I mean by that. With Trovato, there is no indication of the middle or late period as with other painters. Just these 5 youthful paintings and then nothing. Some of us consider that he may possibly have died at an early age.
A brief flowering, Mr. Brooke.
So to say.
Yet still long enough to have produced more than one Bacchus, perhaps.
If you are suggesting that that daub there is a newly discovered work by Benedetto Trovato, then I reject your assertion out of hand.
With all the weight of your personal opinion, Mr. Brooke.
Really, I don't see why I should stand for this. It would take a blind idiot not to see that Exhibit 1 is a footling and inexpert forgery.
Footling? Inexpert, and yet done by a clever painter, I believe you said. I would like you to look at this document, which is an article by you in the Review Fraternity.
I don't need to see it, I remember it.
Do you recognize these words in the Review Fraternity of February the 5th, 1964? Even the command of the brush leaves much to be desired. An uncertainty of line is unforgivable in one who professes to practice art as a vocation. The bourgeois image, expressed in terms of an imperfect technique, makes for a most unpleasant visual experience.
I don't remember the exact words, but I presume they are from a review I wrote of an exhibition Alice Starkie held of her work in 1964.
Yes, Mr. Brooke. And you considered Miss Starkie's work to be bourgeois?
That work? Yes.
And you, as a Marxist, abhor the bourgeois?
Yes, of course.
In fact, would it be right to say that you find such ideas and the originators of them revolting?
Well, it was a long time ago. Miss Starkie had just begun then. I might not write at all the same sort of thing today.
Thank you, Mr. Brooke, that's all.
Now you may stand down, Mr. Brooke.
I call Arthur James Goody.
Arthur James Goody, please.
What religion are you, please? Bible in your right hand, and read the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Arthur James Goody, and you live at 54 Oakhurst Gardens, Richester.
That's right, sir.
What is your profession, please?
I'm an art restorer, sir. The Strandwell Gallery retains me. In addition to general maintenance work on the canvases there, I sometimes have to do other work on paintings to determine their age, authenticity, that sort of thing.
Allow me to direct your attention to the painting marked Exhibit 1. Have you seen this painting before?
Could I take a closer look at it, sir?
Please do.
Yes, I have, sir. Until yesterday, this painting was in my workroom at the Strandwell.
Your complete assurance the painting in question, Mr. Goody?
Oh, quite sure, Your Honour. I recognise it quite clearly.
Now, Mr. Goody, did you conduct certain tests on that painting?
I did, sir.
What conclusion did you reach as a result of those tests?
That the painting is of modern origin, sir. It is, in fact, a forgery.
Alice Starkie, an obscure British painter, is accused of obtaining £20,000 by deception from Walter Lander, a wealthy American collector, for a painting purporting to be the Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato of the Venetian school. Antonio Sforza, secretary to the Duc de Severin, has announced that the real Bacchus hangs in his master's private collection in Provence. Leading critic Quentin Brooke, called by the prosecution, has given it as his opinion that the Bacchus Alice Starkie sold to Lander is a patent forgery. Miss Starkie, for her part, maintained that she bought the painting in a job lot of canvases during an Italian tour and passed it on as a Trovato in good faith. Arthur James Goody, an art restorer and expert on canvases, has just made a rather startling claim concerning the painting which Alice Starkie sold to Walter Lander. Exhibit 1.
Oh, yes, there can be no doubt about it, sir. My examination of the materials of the painting marked Exhibit 1 proved quite conclusively it's of modern origin. I doubt if it's 7 years old.
Your Honour, I introduce Mr. Goody's report on the painting in question as Exhibit 3.
Well, is this an agreed document?
Yes, Your Honour, we have seen it. It is agreed.
Mr. Goody, will you now tell the court the nature of the tests you conducted on the painting, Exhibit 1?
Well, the tests are a bit complicated to explain to a layman, but basically in a case like this, we make use of two sorts, chemical and X-ray.
Well, firstly, can you explain the purpose of the chemical tests?
Well, these tell you things about the paint that's been used, the materials on the canvas generally. I mean, a particular pigmentation will often identify a particular period in art. Then old paint has certain qualities of friability and hardness that can be measured. We can work out roughly how long it's been there.
And the X-ray tests?
Well, these help you to see below the surface layer of paint and so determine if the artist has painted over an earlier painting. It also reveals the nature of the fabric of the canvas. The exact composition of the fibre is of some moment. Then there are the cleats that may have been used to fix the canvas, the nature of the joins of the wood, if that's original, and so on.
Now, these tests, they were quite adequate.
Oh, yes, there can be no doubt about it. They prove quite conclusively that an 18th century canvas had been used. The Bacchus has been painted over an earlier portrait of an Italian nobleman. Well, as for the chemical test, well, after some difficulty, they revealed we were dealing with modern materials, too.
How do you mean, after some difficulty?
Well, there'd been a most interesting attempt to reproduce 16th century Venetian colour tones with contemporary dyes. The artist responsible for this forgery had gone to great care to achieve 16th century colour tones. Now, I believe this had been done by extracting pigments from natural minerals such as lapis lazuli for blue. Most interesting. Most interesting. Also, the paint had been carefully aged. Now, this is done by subjecting it to a series of baking processes. Now, whoever was responsible for this, and if it had just taken a little bit more care, I mean, the truth might never have been known.
Can you think of any other reason why such processes should be used, other than a desire to make the picture look old?
No, it looks like a forgery. In the great tradition, if I may say so.
Thank you, Mr. Goody.
Mr. Goody, would it, in your view, have taken a skilled artist to achieve this forgery?
Well, certainly somebody who knew what he was doing, yes.
A clever artist, perhaps?
Well, clever's hardly the word. It's a special sort of gift, this sort of thing. A sort of photographic technique which some people just seem to be born with. It's entirely professional.
Professional?
Oh, yes, entirely so.
You mean the forger is professional?
Recognizably so.
I see. Then it could not have been achieved by someone with no previous experience who, wanting to make a bit of money, thought, I'll knock up a Trovato and see what I can get for it.
No, that's out of the question. It's a professional job.
Thank you, Mr. Goody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goody. You may stand down.
And it is at this point, Your Honour, that I wish to recall Antonio Sforza.
Antonio Sforza, please. I must remind you that you're still under oath, Signor Sforza.
Signor Sforza, you have testified that you are secretary to the Duc de Severin and have special responsibility for his estates and possessions in Chateau Grandy, Provence. Can you detail your duties for us, please?
Well, His Excellency is now a very elderly man, and I am virtually responsible for all his affairs.
For everything?
Well, he has no children, so somebody is necessary to manage things for him.
You'd be responsible for the vineyards, then?
The vineyards? But yes.
And for the Duke's private collection of paintings?
That is one of my more pleasurable duties.
This collection is what is known as jealously guarded, isn't it, Signor?
Well, His Excellency is perhaps a little I think you would say, obsessional about this. He spent a lifetime building up a collection and, alas, allows very few people to see it.
It comprises how many paintings?
45.
And the Bacchus by Benedetto Trovato, is that one of his more prized possessions?
Well, that's important, of course, but I think its real value lies in the fact that it was the first Trovato ever to come to light. His Excellency first heard of his discovery in Venice in 1965 and at once arranged for his purchase. And I remember at that time thinking he was making a mistake, but once again he demonstrated his unique flair. He is truly one of the great collectors.
Were reproductions of the Bacchus ever made?
Oh, no. His Excellency has always refused to permit copies of his paintings.
Signor Sforza, 2 seasons ago now, at the time of the grape harvest, did you supervise the management of additional labor for the vineyards?
Yes, I did.
Is there somebody in this court who was employed in the vineyards at that time?
There is.
Would you identify him or her, please?
It is the accused, Miss Alice Starkie.
You were saying that the accused took work as a grape picker at Chateau Grandy in the season of 2 seasons ago.
Yes, representing herself as a school teacher on vacation.
A school teacher?
Yes.
At harvest time, you must have to deal with dozens of new people. Why is it you remember Miss Starkie so clearly?
Because while she was at Chateau Grandy, her conduct was reported to me.
Oh, don't tell me what you heard, just what you did.
Well, I saw her, and I asked her what she had been doing in the picture collection.
Did she deny she'd been there?
No. So I reprimanded her and told her that she was not to go into the collection again. But 2 days later, I saw her there myself, and this time with a camera.
Camera?
Yes.
What did you do then?
Well, I dismissed her immediately because it's absolutely forbidden to take photographs.
Did you discover which paintings Miss Starkie was photographing?
No. I merely destroyed the whole film.
Now, Signor Sforza, Miss Starkie was discovered in the picture gallery on 2 occasions, and in 1 instance at least, with a camera.
That is so.
Thank you, Signor.
Signor Sforza, as you've already pointed out, His Excellency, the Duke de Severin, is regarded as one of the great collectors of modern times in the world of art.
Yes.
Yet also as profoundly eccentric, ungenerous, criminally selfish, and is heavily criticized for not letting more people see his collection of paintings. Isn't that so?
Well, he is an elderly man.
He is called reactionary, a survival of feudalism, living in the past.
That is a matter of opinion, is it not?
So a person wanting to see the collection would have to get in by stealth, wouldn't they?
Yes, they would, because only His Excellency's closest friends are permitted to see the paintings.
Now, the film, Signor Sforza, the film that you took from Alice Starkie's camera when you encountered her in the gallery.
Yes.
Now, you say you don't know what was on it.
No, I simply destroyed it.
So there might have been nothing on it then?
But there must have been something on it.
Why?
Because she must have had a reason for bringing a camera into the gallery. And also she'd probably taken other films besides the one which I destroyed.
Did you see Miss Starkie take a photograph?
Not actually see her.
So you do not know if she took a photograph in the collection?
Not for certain, no.
Thank you, Signor Sforza. No further questions, Your Honor.
Signor Sforza, have you ever encountered intruders in the picture gallery before?
Oh, I believe there was once a drunken peasant, but after that, no one.
So there aren't long lines of practicing painters with cameras clamoring to get in?
Hardly.
Would you say it would require a determined and indeed subtle effort to get into that picture gallery?
I most certainly would, because the whole estate is most closely guarded.
Thank you, Signor.
Your Honor, the defense will be calling only one witness today, apart from the accused herself. The second witness has a considerable distance to come, and since there is no news yet of his arrival, I fear I may have to crave the court's indulgence a little later on. However, I now call the accused, Alice Starkie.
the Bible in your right hand and read the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Your name is Alice Starkie of 3 Kellyday Gardens, Barnesborough, and you're a painter by profession. And on the 20th of March last, you sold a painting that you attributed to Benedetto Trovato to Walter Lander for the sum of £20,000. Is all this correct?
It is.
How did you describe the painting to him?
I said it was a Bacchus by Trovato.
Do you see that painting in court today?
It's the one over there marked Exhibit 1.
Now, it has been testified that this painting is of modern origin and is therefore a forgery.
Yes.
Were you aware of this fact at the time of the sale to Mr. Lander?
No, on the contrary.
How did you come about this picture, Mrs. Starkie?
In May of last year, I set off on a trip to Italy. I wanted to do some painting as well as tripping around, but I didn't have much money. I had to cut costs. Art materials are very expensive these days. So in Venice, I bought up a job lot of canvases being chucked out of an old church. I intended to reuse the backs. Then I became aware of this one painting which looked, well, different from all the others, a genuine survival from an earlier period. It was signed Benedetto Trovato.
And what did you do?
Oh, well, nothing just then. I decided the best course to take would be to get the canvas home and think things over a bit. I did that, conducted some research, and then came to the conclusion that the painting was indeed a Trovato.
This was in spite of the fact that you knew a Trovato Bacchus was hanging in the collection of the Duke de Severan?
Oh, well, yes, I'd seen that there all right, but that didn't strike me as significant. Artists often treat the same theme more than once. There could have been 2 Bacchus paintings.
So once you'd made up your mind that the picture was a classic work, what did you decide to do with it?
Sell it.
Why was that?
I'm a painter, not a collector. Collectors are rich people. I need money to get on with the art. They spend it to finance what people like me do. It's the balance of nature or something. I didn't see why I shouldn't cash in on my find. Old Ben wouldn't have minded.
Old Ben?
Benedetto Trovato, he would have approved.
Who then did you approach to sell the picture?
Well, no one immediately. I decided it would be better to wait until I met up with someone who'd be prepared to take the painting privately. There are such people, and they're invariably loaded.
Why were you so averse to going to dealers, Miss Starkie?
I simply thought it would be better to operate on the quiet. I thought there'd be tax to pay on the painting.
Did you set the figure of £20,000 that Mr. Lander eventually paid for the picture, or did he suggest it?
Oh, I didn't haggle, if that's what you mean. I simply said I wanted something near the going price. I believe at £20,000 Mr. Lander thought he was winning.
Miss Starkie, during the grape harvest of 2 seasons ago, why did you take casual work on the Duke de Severan's estates?
To get a good look at the old boy's art collection.
That was your exact reason.
Sure, why not? Grasping old devil, sitting on all those paintings as though they were nickel shares or premium bonds. I described myself as a school teacher so that nobody would get suspicious, and armed myself with a camera to take a record of my trip like any determined tourist.
Couldn't your attitude be described as a little anarchistic?
I hope so. The Duke's, after all, a little fascist. You can't own great art, you know. Money gives you the safekeeping of it for a little while, but that's all. Imagine how you'd feel if someone bought up the Sistine Chapel and made it into a private salon. People who think that sort of thing is possible deserve only contempt from the rest of the world. Defiance.
Miss Starkie, would you regard yourself as a successful painter?
No, I would not. My sales down the years have been modest, to say the least.
As a good painter, then?
Well, that's for others to say, isn't it?
Well, it would seem that others have already said it, I'm afraid. You've never, in fact, attracted critical favour, have you?
Neither did Gauguin in his time, or Cézanne.
The same faults, or supposed faults, are complained of time and time again in relation to your painting. Now, would you tell the court what those faults are?
The critics say my basic technique isn't up to much. They talk of an absence of line. They're fools, of course, but they criticize my draftsmanship.
Your draftsmanship?
Yes, it's funny, they always seem to pick that out. I think they call it unprofessional.
Your unprofessional draftsmanship. Thank you, Miss Starkie.
Calling your attention to Exhibit 1 once more, Miss Starkie. As your own counsel has pointed out, it's been testified that this painting is of modern origin. Do you dispute this?
Oh, no, I can't, can I? I mean, should I? I'm not an expert on that sort of thing.
Yet you seriously ask us to believe that you acquired such a painting in a job lot of canvases that were being chucked out of an old Venetian church?
Yes.
Miss Starkie, what on earth was that painting doing there?
I don't know. I simply came into possession of it that way.
A forger expends a great deal of time and trouble producing this canvas. And it's an elaborate forgery, we've been told. Have you been subjected to certain baking processes to simulate age? And then he simply abandons it to the junk room of a decrepit church? Doesn't sound very likely, does it?
How do I know what sounds likely and what doesn't? It happens to be the way I found the painting.
The forger just dumped it? You honestly believe that?
What does it matter what I honestly believe?
Because you're asking the jury to believe it too, Miss Starkie, and they won't, unless you somehow convince them that you're telling the truth. You wanted a secret sale of the painting in order to avoid certain taxation.
Partly, yes. But I'm going to wish that I'd never mentioned the whole business. I thought there'd be capital gains tax.
If you had to do it again, in other words, you'd allow a public sale.
Possibly, yes, I suppose so.
And you're asking the jury to believe that too.
What?
You insisted on secrecy for tax reasons.
Yes.
Did you consult an accountant?
No, I'd never consult an accountant.
But if you were worried about tax, all you had to do was consult an accountant, wasn't it? And you didn't. Oh, come on, Miss Starkie. You required secrecy because you knew if that painting ever reached the light of day, it would be marked as a forgery.
No, that's not right.
When you were discovered by Signor Sforza in the picture gallery of the Duc de Severin, you had a camera with you.
Yes, that's right.
This was to keep a record of my trip, like any determined tourist.
Yes.
You intended the remark as a joke, no doubt.
No, why should I?
Again, you're asking the jury to believe it?
Mr. Lotterby, if you intend to go on suggesting that...
I do, Miss Starkie. I suggest that you took a photograph of the Duke Stravato and that the painting you sold was copied from that photograph.
I only took photographs of the pictures that interested me.
Was the Bacchus among them?
I don't know, I can't remember.
What happened to the photographs?
Mr. Sforza destroyed some.
And the others? Because there were others, weren't there?
I lost them before I got home.
Lost them? How?
I don't know. One day they were there, the next day they weren't.
Did you lose anything else?
No, I don't think so.
So these photographs were the only things you lost? How unfortunate. Incidentally, just how bad is your draftsmanship?
Draftsmanship?
We've heard evil things about it, but you've eked out some sort of a living out of painting down the years, haven't you?
Not without outside jobs.
Your work is below standard, though.
No.
Regard yourself as a professional draftsman, then?
Well...
Don't you?
Yes.
And you are, aren't you? Because it was you, Miss Starkie, using the photographs you say you lost, who forged that painting.
No, it was not. I found it in Venice, as I've already told you.
Thank you, Miss Starkie. You will return to the dock.
Your Honour, I now have a note to inform me that my next witness has arrived from Geneva in good time after all. I therefore would like to call Gustave de Montague.
Gustave de Montague, please.
Religion, are you, please?
Roman Catholic.
Take the Bible in your right hand and read the words written on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Are you Gustave de Montague of 8 Boulevard Ponty, Geneva?
Well, of course I am.
What are your academic qualifications as an art dealer and expert?
Well, I happen to have a list here. I'm a graduate of and special lecturer in fine arts at Geneva University, curator of the 27e Institute, the Beaux-Arts, visiting lecturer to the Amsterdam Academy of Renaissance Paintings. I received the Carlos Medici Medal from Florence
Thank you, Mr.
University.
de Montague. You need not go on. I'm sure the jury are now sufficiently informed of your qualifications.
Mr. de Montague, let me thank you first for having made the arduous journey to get here. I'm sure we're all deeply grateful.
Nonsense, dear young lady. Who could resist so delightful an invitation, or so delicious a case at law?
Now, Mr. de Montague, you will observe 2 paintings in court today, marked respectively Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2.
Yes.
Could you please inspect these paintings and give us your comments on them? We're interested in anything you can tell us about age, authenticity, and so on.
I understand. Yes, this is the painting which has hung for a number of years now in the collection of my valued, if eccentric friend, the Duc de Séverin. I have some papers relating to this painting which might be of interest to this court. They are the results of a secret analysis I personally conducted some time ago. Under near felonious conditions, I must say. My tests prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this painting is a forgery. But I always knew that somewhere there was an original, and that someday it would come to light. Obviously, I had no reason to talk about it before. And now, at last, here it is. Unmistakably. The true Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato.
Queen versus Starkie will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. The trial of Alice Starkie, British landscape artist and portrait painter, took a sensational turn this morning. Accused of obtaining £20,000 by deception from Walter Lander, the wealthy American collector, for a painting purporting to be the Bacchus of Benedetto Trovato, Miss Starkie has testified that she sold the painting in good faith, having acquired it in a job lot of canvases during a tour of Italy. She has also stated that although she knew of the Bacchus hanging in the collection of the Duc de Séverin, she had thought her discovery merely another rendering of the theme by the same artist. Quentin Brooke, a leading art critic, seconded by Arthur James Goody, an art expert, dismissed Miss Starkie's painting as an obvious forgery. But now, Gustave de Montauk, world authority called by the defence, has turned the tables by giving evidence that tests carried out by him showed that the Bacchus of the Duc de Séverin is in fact a forgery.
Mr. de Montauk, I now have a few questions of a rather different nature for you.
Of course, dear young lady.
Would you say that it is very difficult to tell a Trovato painting for certain?
Difficult? Well, yes, I suppose it is.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, of all post-Titian painters of Venice, he has the most elusive style. There could be little error with Titian himself or many another disciple, but with Trovato, yes, mistakes could quite easily be made.
Would you be surprised to learn you'd made a mistake yourself, Mr. de Montauk?
I beg your pardon.
I'm asking you, can the expert be deceived with a painter like Trovato?
Oh, yes, patently. For example, everyone of significance thought that Exhibit 2 was a genuine Trovato when de Séverin acquired it. Had I not followed up a certain suspicion with my own and obtained proof to the contrary, I might have arrived at that conclusion myself.
And where the expert can be deceived, a person of lesser knowledge has had very little chance of knowing.
That would be my judgment, yes.
Thank you, Mr. de Montauk.
Now, to eliminate all possible confusion, Mr. de Montauk, you say Exhibit 2, the property of the Duc de Severin, is a forgery, and Exhibit 1 is the true Trovato. Is that right?
My tests prove that Exhibit 2 is a forgery, of recent origin, too.
Quite, but do they prove that Exhibit 1 is a true Trovato?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't quite understand.
Now, you tell us certain suspicions of your own cause you to have a secret analysis carried out of Exhibit 2 when it hung in the Duc de Severin's collection. Now, what were these suspicions?
Well, I was a bit bothered by what I might describe as an absence of patrician assurance in the painting.
An absence of patrician assurance?
Yes, you see, Trovato was very much a painter of his time and place. He accepted elegance and a certain effeteness as normal and natural to human life. Now, the Bacchus in Exhibit 1 there is a pastoral figure, but there's nothing open air about him, if you know what I mean. He's really just a lazy, rather soft young man of Venice who happens to have taken off all his gorgeous clothes. No, in this painting, we get a tribute to the delicate, the cosseted, the dissipated. It was precisely because Exhibit 2, I found no signs of this. The moment I saw it, it seemed to lack all these characteristics that I suspected it. And as events have demonstrated, I was completely right. No, Exhibit 1 is the genuine Trovato.
Mr. de Montauk, now is the time, I think, to tell you that an expert technical analysis of the painting Exhibit 1 is already before the court, proving it to be a modern forgery.
I beg your pardon?
I'm afraid it's so. I request the witness be shown the papers marked Exhibit 3.
But this is impossible. Why was I not informed of this when I arrived?
Well, the court is dealing in a difficult and imprecise area, Mr. de Montauk. The uninfluenced opinion of expert witnesses is of primary importance to it.
Both paintings are forgeries?
So it would seem.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I have no re-examination, Your Honor.
You may stand down then, Mr. de Montauk.
It's impossible. Impossible.
Mr. Lotterby, perhaps at this point you would wish to call a further expert witness.
No, Your Honor. I don't feel any true purpose could be served by that. Frankly, the two world experts on Trovato are, or were, Mr. Brooke and Mr. de Montauk.
Yes, I'm inclined to agree with you. Thus, we now have the position where the accused is alleged to have sold for gain the forgery of a painting which is in itself a forgery. That is, if there is any genuine Trovato Bacchus at all. However, the question still remains whether or not Miss Starkie knew that the painting she sold was not by Trovato. Miss Tate?
Your Honor, if I may crave the court's indulgence for just one moment, please. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I should like to recall the accused to the witness box, Miss Alice Starkie.
Very well, Miss Tate, if you so wish. May I hope that it is with the intention of shedding a little light on our darkness?
I trust so, Your Honor.
I must remind you that you're still under oath, Miss Starkie.
Yes. Actually, I wanted to make a kind of statement. Is that allowed?
A statement?
Explanation. Something Well, you see, I knew it might happen that both these paintings would be shown to be forgeries here in court. I knew that, but so long as it didn't happen, I thought it would be in my best interest to keep quiet about it. Now that it has, I'm obliged to talk.
Perhaps you better tell us what you mean, Miss
Yes.
Starkie.
I've never had much luck as a painter, you know. From the beginning, the critics jumped on me. Weakness of line, absence of technique, everything you've heard earlier and more. But the odd thing is, the one real talent I had in art, they never even knew about.
I thought you were going to tell us something about the paintings in court.
I am. I'm a superb copyist, you see. I found that out in my student days. Put a Rembrandt, a Van Gogh, almost anything up before me, and I can reproduce it. Take it down like shorthand. That gift for artistic mimicry that Quentin Brooke talked about. Something you're just born with. Well, one day in Venice, about 10 years ago, I was copying some Titians just for practice. And by chance, I'd just been reading up about Van Meegeren. You remember Van Meegeren?
Miss Starkie.
Well, it's very important, honestly. Van Meegeren was the Dutch artist who, after the war, was accused of collaborating with the enemy because he'd handed over some Vermeers to top Nazis, only in fact, he'd forged the paintings himself to keep the real Vermeers out of Nazi hands. His techniques of aging paint and so on were so precise as to fool all the art experts of the time. Only when I studied them, they didn't strike me at all difficult. I altered my Titian copy from the original in various particulars, and in fact subjected it to the whole Van Meegeren process. And that's the painting you see there that's hung in the Duc de Severin's gallery for the last 7 years. Just for a name, I signed it, Benedetto Trovato.
Now, just a minute, Miss Starkie. Are you telling us that, in fact, you painted Exhibit 2 and attached a false name to it?
Yes. I painted all the existing Trovatos at one time or another. Exhibit 1 here was my latest, a repeat of my first, which was rather silly yet. Mr. Goody told you it's a gift of a special sort. It wasn't the kind of talent anybody would give me much credit for, you see, but I needed to use it. How on earth was I to know fools of critics would start talking about Trovato as though he'd really existed? I didn't do the paintings for money. There wasn't anybody who would have paid tuppence for them. I just chucked them out afterwards. But they began to be discovered.
Then you are the painter Trovato.
I am.
Are you quite serious?
The name itself is a bit of a giveaway.
A name?
There's an old Italian proverb which means, if it is not true, at least it is well thought out. Si non è vero, è ben trovato.
Ben Trovato.
Exactly. Benedetto Trovato.
Miss Starkie, I cannot accept your belated and convenient confession of wholesale deception. You say you painted all the paintings by Benedetto Trovato?
There aren't all that many of them, only 6.
Scattered all over the world. You set us an impossible task, Miss Starkie.
What do you mean by that?
He thought very fast. Both paintings shown to be forgeries in court. Very well. Cease to pretend you'd acted innocently in selling the painting to Mr. Lander. Admit full knowledge. Admit much more, in fact. So much that the entire issue becomes confused and the charge against you will no longer stand.
That's a lie. You've no right to say things like that.
You painted all the Trovato paintings, and yet until the Exhibit 1, which you sold to Mr. Lander, made not a penny out of them?
Yes.
You expect the court to believe that?
Look, it's the way it was. Critics like Quentin Brooke were saying that my painting wasn't worth a tin of fish. So I did the Trovatos, 5 of them, at different times over a period of 2 years. Then I chucked them out.
And you simply couldn't believe it when they began to be discovered?
No. They were all variations of famous Titians. I didn't suppose anybody'd be deceived for a minute. Well, at first I was amused, but then later when people began to write about Trovato, And then actually to buy him, I got annoyed. Last year, when the Trovato John the Baptist went for 32,500, I decided that was the end. Well, everybody was making money out of Trovato except me, and I was Trovato. So I decided to have a go myself and jump on the bandwagon.
Yes, Miss Starkie?
Only to my surprise, I found out I'd forgotten how it went.
Forgotten how it went?
Trovato, his style. It had been 7 years or more since I'd painted one. I had to get another look at his work.
Ah, now this is where the Duc de Severin and his private collection enter the murky plot.
Yes, well, it's obvious, isn't it? His was the only Trovato in Europe. So I went to Provence, got a temporary job on the estate, as you've heard, and found my way into the gallery with a camera.
Took some holiday snaps.
I needed them, even with photographs to help. I was too nervous to try anything new. I just did the Bacchus all over again. And that, I suppose, is what's led to all this.
Well, it's a fascinating story, Miss Starkie. You're expecting us to believe you painted not just one Trovato, but all of them.
You were willing enough to believe that I'd painted at least one before.
You had a motive for that, a £20,000 motive. But to suggest you painted all of them, and for nothing.
It's the truth.
Thank you, Miss Starkie.
Miss Starkie, why did you not tell this court that you were responsible for painting all the Trovato's paintings?
Because I didn't think I'd be believed.
You appreciated then that your story strained credibility?
Yes.
And that is why you didn't even tell me your counsel?
Yes.
Now, it has been suggested that you invented the story at the last moment because you saw a loophole. Is this suggestion true?
No. What I have now told the court is the truth. I don't mind leading people up the garden path a bit, so to speak, but when it gets to the kind of insanity, both Quentin Brooke and de Montaut are talking, I have to speak out. I painted them all.
Thank you, Miss Starkie.
Thank you, Miss Starkie. You may return to the dock. Now, before calling for summing up, I find I would like clarification on one point of evidence. Now, would learned counsel object if I put a question to the prosecution witness, Mr. Arthur Goody?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Nor I, Your Honor.
Mr. Goody, please. Now, Mr. Goody, is it at all possible to tell if the two paintings that we see here in court today are by the same hand?
By the same hand? Well...
No, the accused now claims to have painted all the Trovato canvases. Now, is it possible, is there any way in which we could be certain that these two canvases here, for example, were both painted by the same artist?
No. No, Your Honour, I don't believe it is.
No?
No. If the brushwork was very distinctive, it might be possible to make the sort of comparison you'd like, but I didn't find any identifying techniques in my examination.
Yes. Yes, I see. Thank you, Mr. Goody. You may stand down. Mr. Lotterby.
Your Honour, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Throughout this trial, the accused, Alice Starkie, has lied. From having asked you to believe she painted no supposed Trovato paintings, she now asks you to believe she painted them all. Let's examine her claim. Firstly, if she had painted all the known Trovatos, why did she not sell them also for profit? One painting by Trovato of John the Baptist, we are told, was sold for over £30,000, but she got nothing from the sale. She'd simply chucked it away. Secondly, doesn't it seem strange that she should find it necessary to go to all the trouble of finding work in the Duc de Severin's vineyard, posing as a schoolteacher, and then breaking into the Duke's well-guarded picture gallery in order to photograph her own painting? Miss Starkie says she is a superb copyist. But the paintings of Benedetto Trovato are all individual works on different subjects, not copies of existing paintings. The only copy we know of is the one the accused sold to Walter Lander for £20,000, knowing it to be a forgery. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to consider this. If the accused is truly Benedetto Travato, why did she not speak out earlier? Well, before the trial, in fact. And avoided charges altogether. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I put it to you that Miss Starkie has attempted to deceive her own counsel as well as Walter Lander. Do not let her deceive you. I suggest that you treat her ruse with the contempt it deserves and find her guilty as charged.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, first consider this. Alice Starkie did not need to make this public confession that she was the painter Travato. At the time she spoke out, the case was going decidedly well for her. But it was the gullibility of the art critics that forced her to speak. Now, we've heard from the art restorer Arthur Goody of a special sort of gift which he clearly recognized. And Quentin Brooke, in spite of his obvious distaste for Miss Starkie's work, admitted that her painting was, on the surface, unquestionably clever, but more importantly, that she had a gift for artistic mimicry and copying. Small wonder that after years of frustration as a legitimate artist, Alice Starkie should again turn to the one thing that she had, a particular, if not unique, talent for copying. Now, with regard to the painter Benedetto Travato, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, will you please consider the following? First, where have all the canvases, the Travato canvases, been for the last 100 years? Two, why is there so little information of the painter Travato himself when his so-called master, Titian, is adequately well documented? And three, the name, Benedetto Travato. It is not unknown for painters to offer their work under an assumed name, and this is what Miss Starkie did. She knew that her work was not vero, true, but it was well thought out, ben trovato. And it is this explanation given by Miss Starkie herself that surely is too much of a coincidence not to indicate that she and Travato are one and the same person, and you must therefore conclude, members of the jury, that Alice Starkie is not guilty of the charges against her.
Members of the jury, the issue before you is now a very simple one. The accused is charged with obtaining £20,000 by falsely representing that the painting Exhibit 1 was painted by the artist Benedetto Travato. Now, there's no doubt that she received the money, but in the course of the trial, she claimed that all the paintings attributed to Travato were by her. In other words, that she is the artist Benedetto Travato. Now, the question you have to ask yourselves is this. Has the prosecution proved, beyond all reasonable doubt, that the paintings attributed to Travato were painted by somebody other than Miss Starkie? In other words, has the prosecution proved that Miss Starkie is not Benedetto Travato? Now, as you've heard, we have no conclusive technical evidence. But if you think that she did not paint all these paintings, and that she is not the artist Benedetto Travato, then she is guilty of the offence with which she is charged. But if you think that she did paint all the Travato paintings, then, in law, she is not guilty of deception in obtaining the £20,000 from Mr. Lander. And you must return a verdict of not guilty. Now, you will now retire and consider your verdict.
All stand. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you considered your verdict?
We have.
Do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
We find her not guilty.
And that is the verdict of you all?
It is.
I am deeply sorry that the court's time has been wasted with a case like this. As counsel for the prosecution told you in his summing up, criminal charges could have been entirely avoided if the accused had spoken earlier. Alice Starkie, you are free to go.
Court will rise.